What's up, guys? Welcome back to El Merengue Cule 2021. I say that because this podcast is probably being released on New Year's Eve. So podcast number 1 may end up as the New Year's Eve special. And with this podcast, we kind of wanted to quickly summarize kind of what happened in 2021. But these are the topics that we're going to be talking about. Ricky, go ahead and explain.
So I think we have to start off with how the Ferran Torres whole thing is going down, the cost, the impact, what position he's going to be playing at Barca. The whole situation with Dembele that looked to be going well and now looks to be going horrific. The Barca lineup for the Mallorca game and for 2022 with potential signings and departures. Talking about how Haaland has been linked to both Real Madrid and Barcelona. Get into a little bit more details on that. And I know for you Madrid fans, that's a lot of Barcelona news. So stay tuned for Mbappe talk, Rudiger, Pogba, and some other interesting signings in there. We're going to conclude with just reviewing how the Liga is going, what our predictions are, and just basically analyzing the table.
So with that being said, guys, that is set up right there for one interesting hour. I don't know how long this podcast will actually end up lasting. It might be 45 minutes, it might be an hour. Either way, it's going to be interesting, so you're going to want to keep listening throughout. But with that being said, both me and Ricky want to give you guys a huge thank you to anyone that is listening and watching this video right now. That means that you probably either found the account after our collapse or you've been a loyal fan of the account through our 2021 disaster. For those of you guys that don't know, the account was actually shut down for about 3 months due to copyright problems that were only affected during the Euro 2021 tournament. So we learned our lesson. With that being said, we're not gonna probably do those type of videos for tournaments outside of Champions League or La Liga, which is why the live reactions that we do to La Liga and Champions League are not ever copyright striked. So with that being said, we were able to fight YouTube, get the account back. Not technically YouTube. YouTube wasn't against us getting the account back. It was actually UEFA who was against us and didn't want us to really work out. So we were able to successfully beat them out of those arguments and got the account back. And here we are. It's not been easy, but we are so thankful. I think both Ricky and I can say how much we missed putting up videos and content for you guys. And with that being said, I want to finish off that quickly giving you guys some quick stats about the account. Stats that Ricky has not even heard yet. I told him that I had some stats on El Merengue Cule 2021, but I did not give him the number. So just want to share with you guys kind of what y'all have helped us build, because really all of this could not be done without the help of you guys. With that being said, in 2021, El Merengue Cule had 4.1 million hours of watch time. 4.1 million hours. If you would have asked me and Ricky before we started this account about a year and a half ago, I think we would never have understood those dimensions, which is pretty insane.
No.
And yeah, so 4.1 million watch hours, and that equal to 1.2 million views, and which is, for our account to once again reach views in the millions is unbelievable to us. And the final things are the top 3 countries that actually watch El Merengue Cule. I thought this was a pretty interesting stat. Number 1, USA. Expected, just because we're probably one of the few Real Madrid and Barcelona accounts that there are in English. There were a lot in Spanish, and many of you guys know that both Ricky and I can speak both languages, but we felt like it was a lot easier for us to make an account in English because, one, we live in the USA, so we're constantly speaking English, so it's very easy for us to speak that language. Not that we are not able to speak Spanish, but there was a lot more competition in that market, so we felt like maybe we should bring a little more to the English side of the market, and that's where our decision ended up being. However, with that being said, you guys know that both of us speak a good amount of Spanish throughout most of our videos. I kind of went on a tangent there. USA was number 1. Number 2 was actually India. So shout out to India who makes up number 2. And number 3 is actually France, who I thought was really interesting. And I wonder if Real Madrid's maybe like number of French players that they're linked to has any part in that. But if you're from France, please make sure you leave a comment down below. I want to know. There's probably some PSG fans out there. We'll be coming for you soon. But I thought those stats were pretty interesting. And anyway, so get started with the Ferran Torres. Before we get started with the Ferran Torres news, the final statistics that I'm going to give you on 2021 is the amount of likes and comments that we've had. 50.3 thousand likes in 2021, which actually makes up 75% of our overall likes that we've had in all of El Merengue Cule. So in this year alone, we got 75% of all of our likes, and that to me is massive. So make sure, guys, that you go and leave a like down below. Help us. Now, that could be our first ever podcast. Help the account, the podcast, this video reach as many new users and viewers as possible. And the final one is 9,715 comments in 2021, which makes up 64% of all our comments ever. Pretty crazy stats. So make sure you guys go leave your like and then leave your comment on your thoughts as we go down this podcast in these set of news and topics that we want to discuss. With that being said, let's not talk about El Merengue Cule anymore, because it's time to talk a little bit about Barcelona and Ferran Torres. Ricky, please give us your thoughts.
So Ferran Torres, officially, we bought him. His cost is 55,000 plus 10 in potential add-ons and variables. Now the variables, I don't have them on the top of my head, but when I looked at them, most of them are pretty hard to achieve. So we are looking at, roughly in that 55 area. So that's just a number that I kind of want to keep in our heads for. It is, to be honest, I'm going to be 100% truthful. I'm not the most confident in the signing. I think he's a player that's kind of a big mystery. He got hurt in the Euros. He wasn't able to play basically, this whole half a year or however long it's been since the summer. So it's not like he was a sub for City, but at the same time, we haven't seen him play too much. In the Euros, he was a good player. He scored some good goals, some important goals. But at the same time, he wasn't the star player in that Spain team, right? And for 55 million, that's kind of where you get in the boundary of, not the best of forwards. And that's where, in like that 55 and plus region, is where you start to getting into the cracks, into the game changers, into the top. So it's Ferran Torres, that player that is gonna lead Barcelona, is gonna lead the attacking line. I'm not fully sure. Now, when you analyze the market, that is what he is worth. That's what he's valued at. That 55 million. Manchester City wanted initially 70 million for him. We were able to lower the talks a little bit. Maybe the initial price was a bit inflated. But am I fully convinced in him? No. And I kind of like that. I don't have my expectations. When we got Coutinho, my expectations were up here. When we got Dembele, more of the same. Griezmann, more of the same. And where are they left now? Down here, below. You can't even see them in the camera. And so Ferran Torres, I'm staying neutral. I think he's got potential. I don't think he's got the potential to be Ballon d'Oro or anything amazing, but I do think he can help us out. And so I'm keeping the bar, I think, at a good distance and letting him impress me or impress us. Letting him show us what he's got, what his value is, did we overspend or not.
I kind of like the mentality that y'all are, or that at least you are going into the signing of not expecting too much. It kind of, for those of you that have watched the Spider-Man movie, the new Spider-Man movie, it reminds me of the famous quote from MJ saying, expect to be disappointed and maybe you won't be disappointed. So if you're expecting disappointment, then maybe it'll help you a little bit, because I feel like most Barca fans do have the trauma of just Dembele and Coutinho, kind of like how you were saying before. So it is all kind of fresh and in the air. I will say, and I think I want to say from the Madridista perspective, unbiased. I'm trying to be as unbiased as can be. 6 months ago, at the end of maybe the last season, I would look at Ferran Torres and I was like, Ferran Torres is a solid player. I always thought he was a pretty solid player. Yes, he never truly became the starter of Man City, and that does raise questions. He is a starter and one of the stars of a Spain team that doesn't have many real stars right now. So it's a bit of a liar, because 10 years ago, you say Ferran Torres is the starter of the Spain team that got to the World Cup final, and that speaks very big volumes. Now you say, well, Ferran Torres is one of the best players of the Spain team that, funny enough, actually got pretty far in the Euros. However, I still stand really against how they, I felt like there was a lot of luck in there, whole France not being there and Germany also getting eliminated kind of early on. There were just a lot of factors that, in my opinion, allowed Spain to get kind of further than they normally would have. And also the fact that he is currently injured, which doesn't give you any sense of how he's done this season. I feel like I'm having to just go super back into my memories of like Ferran Torres because I haven't seen any, recent highlights. Nothing recent for like Barca fans to really hold on to be like, look at what he did this season. That is what he could be doing with us. And I think that's where that main factor of just like confusion in how good is the signing going to be, because there's just not much knowledge of him this season in our recent memories.
Another variable that raises a lot of questions, a lot of uncertainty, is the fact that he is 21 years old. I believe he's 21 years old. So he's still got a lot of time to improve. Players reach their prime roughly, I mean, it varies a lot, 25-ish or so. He's still got time to improve. Now, how high is his ceiling? That's a variable. It's a variable. And again, from what I read, he fractured his foot in the Euros, and that's why he wasn't able to play this season. Agreeing with your previous topics. A lot of variables with Ferran Torres for sure.
It'll definitely be something interesting. However, he is an international player. 55 million is not the biggest of price tags in a very. I mean, considering the fact that Grealish went for 100 million this very summer, and in my personal opinion, I don't think Ferran Torres is too far off from the player that Grealish is. I think if honestly, I would have even asked myself if Grealish was better maybe a year ago. I would have even said Ferran Torres is better than Grealish. Grealish had a really big peak, but at the same time, Grealish is not the youngest of players anymore. So I think City, really overpaid for him, and I think Barca could actually be getting a little bit lower of a price than they would have normally for a player like Ferran Torres. I feel like he could have easily gone for at least 70 in the inflated market.
Now, a big question is, obviously, Barcelona financially are in ruins. Were those 55 million spent in, like, the best area? Like, could have they been spent better? That is a question.
That's a very good question.
If you ask me, what I would have done with the 55 million, we're struggling to score goals, but I think there's bigger issues deeper down the field. I think working on the defense, working on the midfield, that's personally what I would have put the money in. Again, keep in mind, we do have a good player like Depay who hasn't fully fit in, sure. And Ansu Fati, who, yes, he's been injured all season long, but is projected to come back. We do have, Dembele, we'll get to that one, but, we do have good attackers, Again, he will definitely help us out, don't get me wrong. And, but could have that been spent better? I don't know. I will say this though. Ferran Torres is projected to be fully healed in about 2 weeks, putting him in the window of the Supercopa where Barcelona is playing Real Madrid.
What a game that's going to be.
What a game that's going to be. Maybe Ferran Torres makes a debut against Madrid. No nervousness. We approach it and we battle.
I hope he does. Honestly, I feel like that'd be really cool. It would bring a lot of hope and just like ilusión for the Barca fans to see their new signing come up against Madrid, which it would be a test right away. Like if he does something good against Madrid, there is nothing anyone else can go say, but it's against this team. Let's see what he does against the big teams. If he does something against Madrid right off the back, it could get him the confidence that he needs starting off with Barca on the right foot. You know what I'm saying? Like you come into a new club and you get an assist, you score against Madrid, and it's like, okay, I kind of like this. I think I could do something good, or it can go the other way.
Yeah. So we've already mentioned he's an attacking player, and a thing about Ferran Torres that makes him valuable to any team is the fact that he can play striker as well as in the wings. So I think for Barcelona, again, with the injuries we've had, that could offer a lot of variable, right? So if Ansu Fati comes back, and same with Depay, If they're both back, then Ferran Torres can play in the wing. If Depay stays injured, Ferran Torres can slot into maybe like a false 9. Something, again, he's a player coming from City. City loves to move the ball well. Obviously, coached by Pep. Coached in some sort of mirror to the Barca DNA, you know, the identity that Barca likes to play as. His first touch is really good from what I've seen. Maybe he can be a mini type of coach in there and display those attributes. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I mean, just to add on to that, Ferran Torres was one of Xavi's main targets. Xavi got to Barca, and Xavi was the one that brought the idea of getting Ferran Torres to the board, and that's why they worked so hard for it. In a sense, this 55 million price tag is Barcelona's board telling Xavi, you got the keys to the car, you steer it the right way, we are giving you the confidence that they would not have given Koeman. If Koeman says, I want y'all to buy Ferran Torres for me for 55 million, Barca would have said, no, man, I don't think you get to call the shots like that.
The direct comparison is Luke de Jong. That's what they were able to promise him. Luke de Jong.
Yeah, exactly. They got him, Luke de Jong, because they were like, you know what, we don't trust in you very much. You're probably not going to be here for the whole season. They probably already had low expectations. I mean, I think I've always seen that Laporta wasn't the biggest fan of Koeman, and since he kind of got to Barca, he was always looking to get that man out. So he got what he wanted. He brought in Xavi, and now they gotta show confidence in him. They gotta show that they trust him, and here it is. Here's what Xavi needed now. But now, with that being said, I've been talking all the good things for Barca and just praising them. But now, if Xavi doesn't deliver, now that he's got one of his big signings, if the team doesn't start getting better, and Ferran Torres does not start performing, I am personally gonna heavily start criticizing Xavi. I feel like he's had a little bit of an scapegoat because yes, he's had a lot of injuries. Yes, he came in mid-season, so it takes time to get the team to adjust. But at this point, we're going to start hitting in part of the season where he's been coached for maybe like 2 months now. Some players should start coming back from injuries, such as Fati, such as Pedri. So the team, it'll slowly start getting back together. And once the team is together and he has Ferran Torres and the team is gelling, or the team is in the middle of the season once again, I'm going to expect some results from Xavi.
I think,
if not, I'm coming for
I disagree from like the Barcelona community. I think we've come to terms that Xavi, like, we're putting our eggs in him. All our eggs in that basket. We trust in him, and we understand that our team is majorly under, like, U23, under 23-year-olds. They're young. It's going to take years for them to start picking up a level. And I think Xavi has the qualities to do that, and I think we're betting on him for the long run. So I think, yes, while the critics and the media might be tough on him, I think deep down Barca fans, if they're able to keep their heads and not get influenced too much by the media, we'll give him, the time. We'll give him the long-term project. But as we've been talking about Ferran Torres, Dembele keeps popping up. Is he going to be...
the big question mark.
Is he going to be in the Barcelona squad? I think it's not too hard to read the lines. I think Dembele is out. And this is horrible for a few reasons. First of all, obviously, we paid $120 million from him, and quite frankly, he spent 90% of that time in the hospital. Second of all, I think Laporta was expecting to renew him at a lower price. I think roughly he's being paid $17 million. I could be completely wrong about that.
I think they wanted to pay half of his salary.
And that would have been instrumental to to enlisting Ferran Torres into La Liga, right? Lowering that contract of Dembele. Now, Dembele's position, as of the past few days / hours, is that he doesn't want to renew because he wants more money. He wants, I've heard, 40 million net every year plus 20 million for his manager as a signing bonus. Barca doesn't have that kind of money. I highly doubt any team has that kind of money to throw at a player that's spent the past 3-4 years in the hospital. So, in my truthful opinion, Dembele's waited this long. Why would he renew? At this point, why would he renew? His luck at Barcelona has been horrible. He's probably looking for a change of scenery. Never really fit in from the looks of it, never looked happy on the field, etc. And because he's holding out that contract to move for free, make a free move in the summer. That means Barcelona still has that high salary for him, right? That's I think 17 million. And that could make the enlisting of Ferran Torres a little more complicated. Now, I trust in Laporta not to make the same mistake he did last season, where he bought players and then wasn't able to enlist them, hence a whole messy situation. I trust that he learned from his mistakes. If he didn't, oof.
I sure hope as well that he learned from his mistakes. As of now, it has the vibe that he didn't. but like I said, we still don't know the full final story until the end. Until a couple of weeks, it'll start to really define itself. Surely a smart man like Laporta did not make the same mistake of buying player before really having the final destination of the players that need to leave. Whether that's also going to be, and we're going to keep talking about Dembele in a bit, but whether that's also going to be Coutinho, Umtiti, whoever ends up actually leaving, and who's going to actually pay for that. I hope Laporta has a better idea. There's been a lot of rumors going around about Newcastle, Everton, all sorts of things, and so it kind of has all the fans for Barca or even Madrid kind of like, okay, how is this gonna develop? Is Ferran Torres gonna be able to sign, or are they sending him back to City?
Yeah. So in terms of Dembele, the rumors that have been popping up so far, I'm hearing he has an agreement or maybe verbal agreement with Juventus that, if you ask me, that's been in the work for far more than the few days. But
I could see that.
But that's besides another point. Now, again, my question is, a club like Juventus, who has done funky business with Barcelona, why? Because they're financially not in a good spot. Are you seriously telling me they're gonna throw at him 40 mil, like what he's asking for, the 40 million euros a year? No. I think that what he threw at Barca was just like his way of saying no without saying no. Making it about Barca and less about himself. There's also been rumors with him linked to Newcastle, obviously, that they would be throwing him a lot of money his way for sure, and also PSG. So that's telling you one thing about Dembele. My man is money hungry. I don't think he fully trusts in his abilities, if I'm being honest. He's looking for the quick cash right now. He's looking for like an Umtiti type contract, and I don't know if he trusts in himself. That's what I'm saying.
I agree with you a lot. On that analysis. He's definitely looking to really up as much salary as he can, because if you really truly analyze that number that we're hearing of 40 million, that is for the level that he's shown us, that Dembele is not worth that much. That is, and I'm kind of blanking out on salaries of even Ronaldo and Messi, Mbappe and stuff like that, but if I'm not mistaken, I had heard Mbappe's salary at Madrid will be around the 50 mil. I don't see a world in which Dembele should be getting paid 40 and Mbappe is getting paid 50 million.
Not at this
That
day
is
today.
pretty close
Not
to
at
me.
this day today.
Not at this day today, especially when you use like for example, like they're saying like Rudiger's salary is definitely going to be around the 12 million.
Yeah.
Rudiger, Dembele, like that is still too big of a gap for you to like say like he deserves 40 million compared to Rudiger.
And like
just throwing out random
if
numbers.
the number was realistic, he would have asked for that the moment he signed for Barcelona under Bartomeu. Like, are you kidding me? That like back then maybe it would have been a little bit more like maybe, but nowadays ain't no way.
Exactly. So whenever you say like that's just his way of saying like I'm not gonna renew with you guys, he's not even beating around the bush. He's like, pay me 40 million, which I know y'all won't, or I'm out. Which in other words is like I'm gonna leave. So it'll be really interesting to see where he ends up. I think Juve would actually be a good fit for him.
Yeah.
Sporting wise, I think he could actually fit into that team. That team is looking for a new player to kind of guide him, even though we've seen that Dembele isn't really the player to kind of.
And he's not a leader. He's not a leader. He's far from a leader.
He's not. He's really young. He doesn't seem very mature. If anything, he's honestly from the recent weeks, but in the things he's done, he's a really weird guy. Obviously, I've never met him, but like the things he's gone and done, like literally when the rumors were a little bit stronger about him actually renewing with Barca, he goes and posts on his Instagram a picture of the Barca logo. and it makes just all fans be like, oh, he must really like the club, like he's putting a picture of Barca on his Instagram, and then like a day or two later, that's when the news of his contract just completely breaking down, the renewal talks completely breaking down. So it's like, then why did you go and post a picture of the Barca logo? That makes absolutely no sense. And then also with the whole thing of him getting married out of nowhere, like how weird is
And the
that?
club didn't
Like
even
that
know.
is
The
really
club didn't
weird.
even know he had a partner.
No, he's a weird dude. Toxic.
Dembele's been in the hospital so long, he probably still thinks Bartomeu's, the president. Messi's still the captain. I don't know.
I don't know. So, I mean, honestly, Barca might as well be dodging a big bullet by renewing him. Seems like he could easily just become because of how much
toxic
money
asset.
he's asking for. And
A Dembele.
yeah,
I mean,
literally another Coutinho.
Yeah, another Coutinho Umtiti.
Another like Bale for Madrid. Like examples like that, where just like they just have players that they cannot get rid of, and they're just getting paid way too much. But now he just signed a 5-year contract, so there's no plays that Barca could even sell him. So if anything, it's probably smart for. If I were Laporta's advisor, I would even go as far to say that I would tell him, dude, don't renew Dembele. Just put your money on a new player, Ferran Torres. Screw it and just move on. That bet is gone. Don't keep wasting money on it.
And to top it off, and a perfect transition into our next talking point, he goes ahead and gets COVID. Ay, Luzman Dembele. Goes ahead and gets COVID, which leads us on to the Barca lineup, to potential lineup against Mallorca. This Sunday, Barcelona has 18 players out, which leaves Xavi with only 9 players from the A team available, right? So players out to COVID: Dest, Coutinho, Abde. Those are the 3 recent ones. On top of Dembele, Umtiti, Gavi, Balde, Jordi Alba, Dani Alves, Lenglet. On top of that, Busquets got 5 yellow cards, so he's suspended. And of course, the injuries of Ansu Fati, whatever. So that alone complicates things in terms of the lineup. For Mallorca, the available players are Ter Stegen, Neto, which obviously is either Ter Stegen or Neto.
And Neto had COVID too. I guess he probably already recovered.
Araujo, Piqué, Eric Garcia, Mingueza. So basically the back line, apart from Des, who even then was a little bit injured, I don't even know. The back line should be pretty similar. Frankie de Jong, Ricky Puig, and Luke de Jong. Those are the players on the A team. Now Nico and Jutla are technically B team players, but have been playing with us the past few weeks. So it throws a little bit of mysteries, and definitely some players are gonna have to come up from the B team that are gonna have to debut. That's quite frankly the bottom line. Debut in La Liga, where we're kind of getting some momentum going. We'll see how that goes. We'll see how that goes. So that leaves. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say at least it's against a Mallorca team who's
15th
lower
place
on the league on the table, so it
could be worse.
Hopefully, could be a more doable opponent. But at the same time, this Mallorca team is just coming from beating Atletico Madrid.
And it's points that we need. Points against Mallorca is what Barcelona needs. 3 valuable points is the truth of it.
Yeah.
And it throws another question. I want to throw a few little numbers out there. I think roughly 10 confirmed COVID cases from Barcelona this week. Real Madrid last week, 11. Now down to 4 due to some recoveries. I think Rayo Vallecano, I think, has 17 COVID cases. And La Liga from what it appears, are holding the ground and saying no games are going to be canceled. The moment that the rule is, once you get to 5 players left in the starting team, that's when they'll cancel
5
yeah,
left. Teams
5.
are normally like 24 players, like 20. That's huge.
Yeah,
that's a huge number of players that would have to be gone.
I know I've said this to you before, and your stance on it was, well, they didn't cancel the fixtures when Madrid had the 11 players out to COVID. And I mean, that makes sense. I understand your viewpoint, obviously, from a Barca fan right now. I'm like, please do us a solid, Tebas, and cancel the fixture. But It's not looking like he's gonna budge.
And there hasn't been any signs of any rumors like, they might actually are looking into, but no, like I have not heard of anything. So
stayed solid.
Unless a few more Barca players start falling down, then I could see it. But for now, the game is gonna stand for sure. So it'll be interesting. It'll be definitely interesting to see if the game goes down and how Barca does. With that being said, we're gonna quickly stay on the topics of a lineup still within Barca. But what could potentially, now that we've talked about Dembele, now that we've talked about Ferran Torres, could Barca bring in Cavani? I don't know about all that. I think they're already struggling. They still have to register Dani Alves. I think the whole problem of being able to register players is just too big of a difficulty that I think I would rule out any other future signings, right? So with that being said, that basically leaves us the team that Barca is going to have for the rest of the season in 2022, and what could potentially be their strongest lineup. And now I'm saying this, Madridistas, listen to me, this is why I'm bringing this up, because obviously Real Madrid is going to be playing against Barca soon, so we can start to see what is the best possible team that Barca could line up against us out there. I know that Fati and Pedri might still not be back. Fati, maybe. I could be wrong on that. I think most teams are doing a bad job on kind of saying when players are expected to be back recently. So who knows? But I'm going to throw out, in my opinion, the best lineup for Barcelona right now. That would be Ter Stegen in goal. And this is one that I'm heavily going against Xavi, because I think he should be playing Dest as right back. I don't know whatever personal dilemma they're having or whatnot, but in my opinion, Dest is the right back with the best progression that they have. I mean, he's a young player from the United States that you guys can really exploit. He's not a bad player. He hasn't just gone out there in games and just completely messed up where you're constantly seeing like the team is struggling because of him. This kind of seems more of like a personal vendetta from Xavi against Dest for whatever reason, whatever happened, and so he's not playing him, and so then he's opted for Araujo as right back. And I think Araujo, being, in my opinion, the best defender that Barca currently has on this team, is being completely wasted in the right back position. So I don't know if Xavi will end up. I can't see him opting for Dani Alves as your best right back and your starter right back, because Dani Alves is 38 years old. Dani Alves was more of a tactical signing to help Xavi in the locker room, help guide the team with the right mentality, or the winning mentality of a player like Dani Alves, who obviously won so much at Barca. So that's a different sort of signing for me. And so in my opinion, Dest is still the right back that needs to be starting. Araujo needs to go in the center back, as I was saying, alongside Piqué, the other most trustworthy center back that Barca still has, regarding that he's aging. Eddie Garcia is nowhere near the level, and you guys know how bad I feel about him. Umtiti, another scenario, and then what's his name? The Frenchman.
Oh,
huh? Lenglet. I mean, he could be one to kind of. I think Lenglet can be your third center back. He could be the one to kind of push Piqué and Araujo to do better. Otherwise, Lenglet could be the one to start. I think people were really harsh on him and easily just kind of threw him out of the picture. Anyway, so I have my three defenders out of the four. The fourth one, it has to be Jordi Alba, one of the best players in this whole Barca team, in my opinion. Super dangerous in the attack, so he's got to be in there. So those are my four defenders with Ter Stegen in the back. 3 midfielders, so I'm running a 4-3-3 formation. 3 midfielders. In my opinion, Busquets has to be a starter. This team without Busquets shows a lot of weaknesses, in my opinion. Busquets brings a lot of experience, solidity in the midfield. He doesn't really mess up that many passes. He's good at faking fouls. He's good. He's a very experienced player, and I think they need him out there. So Busquets needs to be out there regardless of his age, which is why I think people could easily be like, no, we'll screw Busquets. Like, let's move on to the next people. No. Busquets brings stability. I think Busquets is good for the team. In front of Busquets, you have to have the young. This whole campaign against the young, but the young is still one of Barcelona's best players, if not the best. So the young's got to be there, helping bring the creativity to the team alongside Gavi. None of that Pedri stuff. Gavi is better than Pedri. I'm saying it right here. I have watched both now, Pedri and Gavi play, and in my opinion, Gavi's just the better player. I said what I had to say. Pedri being your golden boy of the year, I don't care. I'm sticking with Gavi. He's more explosive. He seeks the goal a lot more. He has a better shot. I've seen Gavi already score like about the same times as Pedri did all season long before. Gavi is a much better player. With that being said, Pedri would still be able to rotate in there and could even do a 4-4-2 type of formation with him in there too. And then the front three, once Fati returns, Fati would go on the left wing spot. Obviously, Fati still has a lot to prove, but he at the same time has shown already a lot of good things. Can he get that back? I don't know. Ferran Torres at the right wing with Depay as the striker. Ideally, Barca would want to have, in my opinion, a bigger striker to kind of help with a different sort of play. But I do see this lineup as a very Man City-like lineup with a lot of short, younger players, explosive, dribbling, passing, rather than just more the physical type. So players that, if Ferran Torres is able to bring a lot of tactics and mentality, kind of like you were saying earlier, to help these players kind of understand from a player perspective. As long as it's different to kind of hear from a teammate rather than like from your coach on ways that he did things. Because you're going to hear Ferran Torres say, yeah, like in Man City, like we would do this and it was really effective. The players are going to be like, you know what? Man City is a really good team. We might just listen to you. So Ferran Torres could bring a lot in that sense. So that, in my opinion, is the best starting lineup that Barca could have. On the bench would be Pedri, as we already mentioned. Eric Garcia to kind of help out in defense alongside Lenglet. Nico. We can't forget Nico. Nico's a very, very solid player, in my opinion, too. Physical, big, not scared to go into tackles. Dani Alves, for experience. Mingueza, Abde could be another player that will be rotating in there. Abde has shown some good qualities. So in my opinion, that's kind of my ideal lineup. I don't know if you have any thoughts about it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll still have Dembele for the rest of this season, right? If he doesn't renew. Now, I wouldn't put it past Laporta to be like, nah, man, you made a decision. You're not playing. You're not going to the World Cup this summer, right? Because we got that. We can hold that. We can hold that. So I wouldn't discard us. I've already seen Dembele's last game. I'll throw that out there. Like you said, Abde has shown good qualities. I think as a super sub, fantastic. I don't think he's at the level to be a starter. Actually, just to change it up a little bit, he chose to play for Spain instead of Morocco as his national team. Interesting. But yeah, I think you have pretty spot on. Again, the Pedri thing, I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see how they compare the two in practice, how they fit better. Now, you said something to me earlier today. Pedri hit a lot under the bigger stars such as Messi, Griezmann, etc. And quite frankly, I could have seen that. I complained a lot about him not going for goal. Really wasn't taking shots, helping the team out, but in his progression, he's got to go towards goal more. He's an attacking mid. He's got to pick up more goals. So, again, I'll stay criticizing him. I like him a lot. Don't get me wrong. I love him as a player. But, I won't get my head beyond where it should be. And I think is where we can transition perfectly to talking about Haaland with Real Madrid, with Barcelona. Take it away.
Real Madrid. For all the Real Madrid fans that have loyally been listening to all the Barcelona news, as interesting as for me as a Madridista, as interesting as they are to me, and if I were a Madridista, I would want to know everything about my opponent, my main rival, which is Barcelona. So that's why I think it's important that you guys stay listening to any sort of news about Barca too. You gotta stay informed. But yes, as Ricky was saying, and I'll kind of let you continue. It's time to get to a little more Real Madrid.
Go ahead. Take it away. Tell us the.
Okay. Yeah, that was the segue. So, starting off with Haaland, a player that has been big on the rumors the past week, 2 weeks. Big. Every single day I see so many news updates, things about Haaland. It's constantly changing. And the newest edition of these news is that Haaland has apparently said to a few people to his agent, Mino Raiola, that he has two options. Real Madrid is number one, and if Real Madrid doesn't happen, then he wants Barcelona. Those are his words, according to many reliable reporters. That his main option is just to be in La Liga, and if that fails for whatever reasons, then he's open to look into the Premier League, and we'll kind of talk a little more about what actual teams he could go to in the Premier League if it weren't to happen. So now let's kind of talk about, could he actually come to Real Madrid? Does Real Madrid have what it takes? And I think the easy answer is yes. Real Madrid has financially what it takes to get Haaland. Even La Liga's director Tebas has gone and said publicly he obviously knows Real Madrid's financial situation. He's like, yep, they can definitely get both Mbappe and Haaland without a problem. And the main reason for that would be the fact that at the end of this summer, or I guess by the summer, Isco, Bale, and Marcelo will be gone.
60 million.
Those are a 60 million worth of salary cap right there, freed up. Like I said, rumored is supposed to be that Mbappe is going to be getting around 50. So whether it's 50, 60, whatever, Isco, Marcelo, and Bale are essentially financing the whole Mbappe operation. Obviously, there might be some additional costs to like agents, family, whatever. Whatever that being, it's not going to go over an additional 40 million. So the whole thing could be maybe around 100 million. But that's nothing. None of that money goes to PSG, obviously. So essentially, Mbappe is coming on he's really coming on a free, right? But he's not even going to come at a toll in salary because it's players that are leaving that are going to leave his salary to Mbappe. With that being said, Real Madrid is starting off the summer fresh in a sense, with only having to spend 75 million for Haaland, a player that are a cost that they could easily have spent on 2-3 players on a previous summer, just of smaller names, and then you just have to pay his salary after that, whatever it'll be, something similar to Mbappe's, maybe in the 40s, 45 maybe.
I do want to say two things. Real Madrid currently, they do have a little bit of margin in between the salary cap and what they have right now, so that definitely gives some more room for Haaland. That the Perez dream alive, but I've heard other things about the transfer for Haaland. Haaland is a transfer that's supposed to break the market of football for possibly the next 10 years.
Hold on,
I'm lagging a little bit.
Just cut off.
All right, sorry. So we had some technical difficulties, but what I was saying is that Haaland's transfer, whatever you want to call it, is supposed to break the market for the next possibly 10 years. It is supposed to break all sorts of margins, break possibly Neymar's move to PSG, and is why I think it's going to cost more than the 75 million that is his buyout clause. Why? Because Mino Raiola is a greedy man. He doesn't like Real Madrid. I don't think that'll play too much of a role, but I think he is asking some money for himself, and as well some money to the father of Haaland. So I'm not fully sure, but I don't think the whole transfer thing is going to be around 75 million. I think it's going to be a bidding war in between. I mean, I know he did say the thing about, mainly being in La Liga, right? Staying away from the Premier League, whatever you want to interpret it as. But I think it's got to be some sort of bidding war.
I mean, I don't disagree with you. Frankly, as you say this, everything you're saying makes sense. Just think about a real market. Yes, your asking price is 75 because technically that's his buyout clause. But what's to say, if City comes and offers 100, is that what you're kind of talking about?
Yeah.
If City comes and offers
and
100?
Potential variables to Mino Raiola and to Haaland's father. So I think
So, yeah.
There's just gonna be hidden fees that make this transaction more than just the 75 million. Now, go ahead if you're thinking we're gonna say something.
Yeah, I mean, so I agree with you. I agree with you. If I put myself in Florentino's shoes, I'm thinking,
It's still worth it.
okay, so
Still worth
so
it.
what?
I mean, Madrid's
So
got the
what?
money to
It's worth
compete
it.
with the top dollar, really. Again, because they were
They could.
saving up for Mbappe, and that's gonna happen for free. Now, to transfer this conversation a little bit to Barca, I mean, I don't see a world in which Barcelona can afford this. I mean, if we're struggling to sign Ferran Torres up for La Liga, how are we going to do that with Haaland? As much as the narrative would be great for Haaland to go to Barcelona, the next Ronaldo versus Messi type, clash, the Mbappe versus Haaland. Haaland could be the guy like Ronaldinho was back in the 2000s to rebuild that Barcelona team that was in the Europa League to take them back to when they won all 6 trophies in 1 year. That could be Haaland. That sounds like a fairy tale to me, and it's not realistic.
It does.
It's not realistic as much as I wish it were. Not realistic.
Yeah. That would be and obviously as a Madrid fan, I don't want to say, oh yeah, I hope Haaland goes to Barca, because I don't. But for La Liga, for El Clásico, for
marketing,
just for La Liga, it would be huge. It would be huge if Haaland were to somehow end up in Barcelona, and now you have the marketing of Mbappe versus Haaland. That would be astronomical.
And like,
sadly,
I complain a lot about.
In a sense.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off. I complain a lot about how.
No, sadly, in a sense, like it's hard.
Yeah. How the Premier League currently is making so much more money off TV rights than La Liga is, because I mean, it is a little bit more appealing. It is a more appealing league than La Liga. Quite frankly, they've got better, promotions, advertising, marketing, etc. The TV rights are considerably higher, which that money trickles down to the clubs. Hence, why United can spend all 120 on a bench warmer Sancho. Still looking to buy more players. Chelsea spending a lot of money, etc.
100 on Lukaku, who now Lukaku wants to leave,
etc. So again, a fairy tale, but it could help La Liga out.
Yeah. With that being said, though, we talked about the financial reasons why Real Madrid can get Haaland, but would Haaland be an overall good fit? I think in the most ideal world for Real Madrid is Haaland somehow agrees to extend his contract with Dortmund for one more year to allow Benzema to have his. Okay, guys, we had some technical difficulties again. Once again, this is the first potential podcast, so it's we're learning as we go. However, where I last left off was regarding Haaland and
how he fits into the team.
How he would fit into the team. In an ideal world, you want Haaland to agree a year contract extension with Dortmund that allows Real Madrid that buys Real Madrid time into one, get even more money in case of anything. Two, which is the more actual reason, is Benzema. Allow Benzema to live his glory final year, not necessarily final year at Real Madrid, but final year as a starter striker for Real Madrid. Very well knowing, and I think Benzema has said before that he does not have a problem being the secondary striker and to kind of mentor someone, which I think it just makes Benzema's legend even more amazing, right? It's just like such a coachable player, such a player for the team rather than for his own personal egos, which is amazing. But yeah, it would allow Benzema to have that final year of glory, and then afterwards kind of hand his position to Haaland and help mentor him along the way. That is the fairy tale that as a Real Madrid player I pose in my head. However, Haaland probably is not in a position where he wants to wait. If I were Haaland, I'd be like, I don't know. But I feel like Haaland is in a position where he's like, as much as I do want to go to Real Madrid, I'm not going to waste another year at Dortmund where I could be really severely helping my career improve. Which is where we now face the next. Go ahead.
I also want to throw another wrench in there. Haaland is the type of star that wants to be the leader of the project, right? He wants to be that reference point. He wants to be getting all the goals. He wants to be in the light. And we've seen, we're seeing it firsthand with this PSG team, how getting all these stars together doesn't always translate to the best team, right? A lot of individuals don't always make up the best team. And having Mbappe with Haaland together could be problematic in terms of the type of runs they make. I watched a video on how they analyze the type of runs they make, where they like to take the shots from. They're very similar. They are very similar. They are different type of players, but in the end of the day, they are kind of similar. And obviously, Mbappe doesn't like having to share the locker room and with Neymar and Messi. We're seeing it firsthand.
We're seeing his numbers are a little bit lower than previous years in Mbappe.
So I think Mbappe could fear that a little bit and be a little bit against that. And obviously, Haaland as well, he wants to stay a star. And, Barcelona, you could be the star, Haaland. Come to Barcelona.
You pose a good point. However, because of the way these rumors are continue, Haaland already knows that Mbappe is going to be there. If Haaland wasn't aware of that, then he would have already said, my next target is this. Haaland knows Mbappe is going to be there because Mbappe is going to be there. And that's not stopping him from saying, so he's already shown that he's not scared to play with Mbappe. So I think your argument is very true. However, I kind of want to play, devil's advocate that Haaland is okay to it. Now, whether that's actually going to work out on the field is a completely different story. Yeah. And I see your sides. The whole ego battle, it could definitely be a thing. I mean, we saw when Ronaldo and Kaká both came in, both Balón de Oros, one of them had to prevail, and it was Ronaldo. Kaká ended up disappearing. Could something similar happen where one of them prevails and the other one somehow, even though they're coming in with this huge name, could they be the next Kaká?
And again, both players want to be and are expected to be future Balón de Oro winners.
Yeah,
you can't have two Balón de Oro winners in the same locker room.
Not the same team.
You can't.
You can't. As much as I agree with you. You can't. It would bring. It's too hard for the team. And now also like who's going to be defending? Because I think the whole problem with PSG right now is none of the front three help in the back.
Yeah.
So Mbappe doesn't help. Haaland doesn't probably help too much. Vinicius works hard and he does try to help the defense, but at the same time he's not the best. He's not the best defender, and he fouls a lot. And he's not like a Di Maria who brings a lot of good balance to the team. Or in Real Madrid's opinion, Asensio and Rodrigo are actually a lot better defenders than Vinicius is. So
could Vini get
there's
scared?
Problems with the balance.
Could Vini get scared? Mm-hmm. Could his confidence drop? Vinicius Jr. and maybe
that's another argument.
And right now the projection of Vini, the marketing of Vini,
it's huge.
It's exponential right now. That could take a hit.
Bendito problema.
Yeah.
What a blessed problem for Real Madrid to be having. Obviously I'm not complaining about this problem, but it is a problem. It is a problem because one of these players, either Vinicius, Haaland, or Mbappe, in the case that all three come in, one of them will cease to be the player they're projected to become. I think. And like I said, that's the thing I like about Merengue Cule. We try to bring our most sincere opinions rather than just trying to hype you up, guys, and be like, no, guys, screw that. Like Mbappe, Haaland, Vinicius, they're gonna be unstoppable. Like there's no way. I'm trying to bring the most thorough analysis into it.
Now, we've talked a lot about potential signing for Real Madrid, or not for Real Madrid. We talked about the Haaland move for a good while. But let's talk about a little. I mean, we've also talked about the Mbappe move, but Rudiger, Pogba, tell us what the horizon is showing.
What the deal is in that scenario. It's a perfect segue now that we've kind of recapped Real Madrid's financial status. So we know where they stand, where Mbappe is essentially being already paid for by the departures of Isco, Bale, and Marcelo's salary. So we don't have to worry about that. In the scenario that Haaland stays within the 75 million plus salary, once again, that's a very affordable price. Even if you put that at 100, Madrid can do that. Which leaves them additional money for additional players in reality. Now, I think one player that is probably 85% a Real Madrid player at this point is Rudiger. I think the rumors for him keep increasing in favor of Real Madrid as opposed to other teams that want him, like Bayern Munich. I think Manchester United was another team that potentially wanted him. The rumors keep growing from Rudiger. Once again, another player that would come on a free, and you would have to pay him 12 million salary, and sure, maybe add on an extra, max like 5-8 for potential agents and family. A player that you'd be paying 20 mil, Rudiger, Champions League winner, and if you go back and watch our Champions League reactions between Real Madrid versus Chelsea from last season, I said so many times how good Destroyer of All Worlds Rudiger was. In my opinion, he was one of the best players in that whole fixture clash between Chelsea and Real Madrid. He was massive. I would just see Chelsea's defense and Rudiger would just stand out to me, and I was like, how do you beat this man? He is huge. Now, Ricky, you brought this up before. Confidence. Talk a little bit about that.
So obviously we saw Rudiger under Lampard, that they bought him. It was big expectations, and quite frankly, never delivered until Tuchel came in, revolutionized the team. But that goes to show how much confidence plays into a player like Rudiger, directly into Rudiger. David Alaba has been breaking it with Real Madrid. Militao has nothing but improvement.
Man of the
At
match,
this
man of
day
the player
and
of the month.
age, yeah, there you go. At this day and age, is Rudiger better than any of these two? Alaba as a leader. Keep that in mind. For me, personally, I don't think it would be as easy to slot him in there, indisputably into starting lineup without hurting Militao, who again is also another player that is very motivated by his confidence, similar to Rudiger.
Yeah.
So I see a potential clash of personality again, similar to Haaland in a sense, and Real Madrid doesn't play with a 5 in the back; they play with 2 center backs.
Yeah.
So that means either the rotation is gonna have to be really well, or one of the two is gonna suffer.
Which now I agree with your points to kind of add my vision, my perspective, my insight into that is if Real Madrid aspires to be the winning team of the Champions League, you have to look back at when they last were. And when they last were that dominant team in Europe was when part of the team included having 3 top center backs. And that's when they had Pepe at a really good form, Varane at a really good form, and Sergio Ramos at a really good form. At the end of that season, sure, there's always the 2 center backs that end up being the main ones, the starters for the final of the Champions League, the ones that earned it. But that third center back still plays a huge role. And that is further simplified when you have a player like Alaba who's super, he has so many positions that he can play in. Real Madrid is a team that is going to have so many games every year, which will come with a lot of injuries, a lot of suspensions. Mendy is a player that fouls a lot, that gets a lot of yellow cards, that can get a red card even. Casemiro, a player that gets a lot of yellow cards, red cards, etc. Alaba's ability to be able to move to left back to center defensive mid gives a lot of room for Rudiger to just easily slot into that center back position. Mendy is an injury-prone player. There's every season we've had Mendy be out for at least a couple weeks. Yeah. So, those could be 2-3 solid weeks where Rudiger and Militao just get going at it. Build up Rudiger's minutes on the season so he's happy, content, while Alaba is still playing at either left back or center defensive mid to give Casemiro some rest. Casemiro is not getting any younger. Every season he's starting to show mistakes here and there. He's starting to show that he's a little more fatigued than previous seasons than the beast of Casemiro that we knew. He's still a beast, but he's showing signs of a little fatigue. Give him some more break. You have Alaba who can play center defensive mid. And then with that being said, Rudiger gets all those minutes. And then you say Casemiro and Mendy are back to regular, they're healthy again or they're not suspended. Well, now you can put Alaba back in, give Militao some rest, or, give Rudiger a game where he doesn't play. It is Real Madrid, and ultimately, if you want to aspire to be the best team in the world, then you're going to have a lot of competition in every position. So, I totally agree with you. I see that the confidence is a huge factor, and then in that sense, if maybe Rudiger isn't getting as much playing time, then his confidence goes down. But I guess the perspective I'm trying to bring in is that Rudiger could actually get a good amount of players if you're good with the rotations.
Fair enough. Tell us about Pogba.
Pogba. A player that I've always liked, and I've quite frankly dreamed of him being at Real Madrid. I could so see him with the Merengue jersey, especially when you have more French players like Mbappe coming. Back then we had Varane, so I would just dream of that French duo with Zidane. It never happened. And I feel like over time the strength of the rumors, the hype is the word that I was looking for. The hype for Pogba to Madrid has slowed down to even potentially died. I have not heard about Pogba coming to Madrid in recent times. With that being said, he's still not showing any signs of renewing his contract. He's been out injured, so he's not even getting a lot of playing time. He's just out of the rumor mill right now, which makes it kind of hard to kind of predict and see where things are going. If Haaland were to come, that's one player that Mino Raiola already has in the team. Real Madrid has, over the recent history of their, of Mino Raiola, they've stayed away from him. They know that he can be kind of a toxic agent to have in the team, and they've always decided to do business away from Mino Raiola. Having 2 big players such as Haaland and Pogba in a team could bring a lot of potential power to Mino Raiola in that decision making, because you never know, these agents have a lot of power in decision making potential. So I don't know if Real Madrid necessarily wants to go down that path. a player that like Pogba, who, if we're being honest, has not played insane or amazing, has not had consistency, good seasons since Juventus. He's been at Manchester United for what, 3-4 seasons now?
Probably
and
more.
He still hasn't had that one season where he just did amazing. He has had good moments, good a couple months, and then he gets injured and kind of disappears, or he has attitude problems.
I do want to say another thing.
Yes.
Pogba is a very selfish player. He's a very ego player. Again, he wants to be the center of attention. Real Madrid has thrived these past few years of players like Toni Kroos, Modric, Benzema that have all been selfless. Now getting rid of players like Ramos, who had a lot of character to them, started to become a little bit selfish. And I think adding Pogba, yes, Madrid could benefit from having more midfielders for sure. I don't know. I feel like he could be a little bit toxic in terms of like his personality. I don't know.
Yes. I mean, I agree. We know Pogba's personality. He's another egocentric guy. Helps him once again, thrives on that confidence. Just like Rudiger, just like these other players that we've been talking about. With that being said, though, we can't ignore the fact that Madrid needs a midfielder. Whether it's Pogba or someone else, Madrid needs a midfielder because Kroos, Casemiro, and Modric are not getting any younger. Especially Modric. He's going to turn 37 next season, even though he looks like he's playing like he's 27. He's going to turn 37 next season.
Though. Pogba is not the youngest. Pogba is not the youngest.
But how old is he? Is he still?
I'll
29?
check. Keep talking. I'll check.
Yeah, he might still be 29. So I mean, yeah, he's not the youngest, but he's also not the oldest. And
28.
Sometimes you want to have a good. He's 28. See, he's still at a pretty good age in my opinion. Yeah. And the other thing I was going to say is you can't make the mistake too much of bringing in too many young players because you do want some experience. You do want some instantaneous impact to the team, right? Because you can easily put your money on another 21-year-old player, 22-year-old player, which can be risky because, especially if you're trying to build a team that's going to win the Champions League, like, you need a good balance. And in my opinion, Pogba does bring that good balance if he hits somehow. He all he needed was a different team. We have talked so many times about Manchester United destroys good players.
Under France, he's done pretty well.
Yeah, exactly. In the Euros, he did really good. He actually had man of the match performances. So he has shown us that with different teams, Pogba can perform. So could Real Madrid be the team that actually allows him to reach that level? He knows how to play with Mbappe. He would have some chemistry with a few players. I'm sure playing with Kroos and Casemiro is not hard. They're players that just have so much experience, and I'm just sure it's probably not too hard for other players of his caliber to kind of come in and just right away hit the ground running. I don't know, but one thing is for certain, Real Madrid needs a center mid for next season because Modric is not going to be there anymore, or he'll probably be there, but his levels could easily decline. Camavinga is still really young. Valverde, as good as he is, he's still struggling a little bit, and I can't see us going another season with those 5 midfielders.
Yeah. All right. I think it's time to. I think it's time to review how the Liga has been going this season, and our predictions for the top 4.
Yes. Go ahead.
So, reading off the list, Real Madrid first place by 8 points. From what I'm seeing,
on Sevilla.
Yeah. Although they do have a game in hand to Sevilla, but regardless. Real Madrid first, Sevilla second, Real Betis third, Rayo Vallecano fourth. That's not going to stay there. Atletico Madrid fifth, Real Sociedad sixth, and Barcelona seventh currently. Now, comparing Barcelona seventh place with 28 points to Rayo Vallecano, same amount of games, who has 30 points, right? So Barcelona is 2 points away from fourth place Rayo Vallecano. Now, again, there's still Atletico Madrid we have to worry about. There's still Real Sociedad we have to worry about. But I think it's not gonna be easy, but it's definitely doable for Barcelona to make the top 4.
It's 100% not impossible, especially if the Ferran Torres signing works out perfectly. Then I think that could be the perfect boost that Barca needs if they can start getting these wins on these easier opponents, such as Mallorca. It can all. I feel like all they have to do is hit a good run of games, and start picking up points, and they'll be fine. However, it's really easy to say that because we've seen Barcelona do it year on, year out. Even last season, Barcelona had a moment where they won so many games in a row, which is why it's like, okay, it's doable. But this Barcelona team has not hit one of those winning runs at all at any point this season. They've been really inconsistent, and at any point they have those games where it just all seems super stale, no one can score, and it ends 0-0, or it even ends up with the other team getting that goal in the last minutes to beat them 1-0.
Yes, so but Barcelona has not had a team. Barcelona with injuries and whatnot, Barcelona has not had the same team repeatedly, or like the top team. Yeah. So hopefully, injuries respect us. The second half of the season could be a little better.
Yep. And now, adding a little more analysis outside of Barca, we have Betis, who's in third place. Betis is in the Europa League, playing up against Zenit. I think a team that, in my opinion, I feel like Betis could beat. It's going to be a close tie, but Betis could potentially beat. Which means the reason why I bring that up is that Betis could go in a long run or a decent run in the Europa League, which is a lot of games that are on Thursdays, games that usually make you more or less focused for your La Liga game. Mm-hmm. And knowing Betis and how they usually play in previous seasons, the moment they start kind of losing focus, they're a team that can easily start dropping points. So even though Betis has had a really good first half of the season, being third place with 33 points, I can't see them finishing up in a top 4 position. I think they're not a team with the caliber to do it. They don't have players with experience that have done it before, and I just can't see it happening.
They got old players as well. They don't have
their team is a team that's starting to age a little bit.
Rayo Vallecano, more of the same, especially with 17 COVID cases, right? Obviously, it's not going to last too long.
17 COVID cases, and their game this weekend is against none other than Atletico Madrid.
Oof. And Atletico's 1 point below them. So
1 point below them. Yep.
So
I think...
a lot of movement is expected to come from now to the end of the Liga, for sure.
So what I was going to finish off with in my predictions is I see Sevilla staying either second or third. My actual prediction is that Atletico Madrid will be able to surpass Sevilla at some point. I still think Atletico Madrid is a good team, even though they've had a really, really bad first half of the season. I could see them either coming really close to Sevilla or actually surpassing them, with Sevilla coming in third place. And the main battle for the fourth place, in my opinion, will be between Real Sociedad and Barcelona. Once again, Barcelona with the asterisk of if the team is able to get the full team back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I agree.
I will add Sociedad is playing against RB Leipzig in the Europa League. Not an easy opponent. So once again, they could easily start dropping points in the Liga. There's also going to be Copa del Rey. Real Sociedad is usually a team that goes pretty far in Copa del Rey. All those minutes added to these players that are not used to playing so many midweek games are when these teams start to usually die out by this point of the season.
Yeah, I mean, Barcelona...
However, that also applies to Barca.
Yeah, I was like, Barcelona versus Napoli does not get easier. So, I mean, a lot of variables for sure, but I think the tables can look completely different in a few weeks from now, for sure. Everything's really tight. Besides Real Madrid and Sevilla, everything is so tight by 3 point difference. Position. Yeah.
You see, behind Barca, you have Valencia, who's the same points as Barca. Villarreal, a Champions League team coming up against Juventus. A Champions League team with 3 points less than Barca, and then Bilbao with 1 point less. So it's all really tight in those first 10 positions, aside of, honestly, Real Madrid.
Yeah. All right, guys, this dragged on a little bit long, so we'll go ahead and conclude here. Thank you guys for an amazing year, for sticking with us through our hardships, for El Merengue Cule. Thank you for, if you're still listening, I think you will be. Thank you for listening. Cool. Let us know what you thought about the podcast style videos. I had a lot of fun making it.
Yes.
And hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Let's start off this year right. And thank you for joining us, and as always...
A la Madrid.
All right, bye guys.